So material culture is a really interesting area of study because it brings together looking at the physicality, the tangible aspects and the material aspects of an object with the immaterial and the intangible. And the culture piece is the immaterial, intangible part. So the study of material culture is really looking at the meaning behind objects, the attachments people make with objects, how objects are used, how they change in different contexts, how they vary in different scenarios. So really an object itself can be read as something that embodies certain symbols, it embodies values of culture, it embodies all kinds of interesting things beyond just the material aspects that it has. People who study material culture look at objects and look at the role of the object that it plays, often with people and with relationships between people. So an example of that is a cane that somebody would use who's visually impaired. That cane allows a person to navigate an environment. It allows a person to have certain kind of independence. And it also allows a person to then connect with society on very different levels. So it's not only an object, a physical object, but it represents blindness, it represents mobility, it represents independence, it represents some basic human factors that occur. So we can look at objects and really understand more about society and more about people, the values that we have. So for example, designing a cane is significant because it's an indicator that it's worthwhile for society to have blind people in our culture and walking around a city. Without that cane, without the design of that object, those people wouldn't have mobility, and that would show that that society did not value blind people being able to get out into society. So material culture's relationship to industrial design right now is really a very thin thread. Not a lot of industrial design people think about material culture. What's funny is that they don't explicitly think about it, but they implicitly know that it exists, because industrial designers would be trying to consider the use of an object, but they can't consider the broadest sense of the use of an object or the meaning that an object might have. So it's very challenging from an industrial design point of view to look at an object, design an object, and say, well, I want to create something that's going to become a memento. I'm going to create something that people are really going to be attached to. That there are aspects that designers can move in that direction, such as through emotional design or by looking at lived experience and really understanding how people attach to objects. But this is really an area that really industrial design and material culture aren't converging very much yet, and I think there's lots of room for that. The research that we're doing together really brings them into a whole, in a sense, and because we are thinking about objects more in terms of that holistic connection that people have to objects, and not just the superficial, how do you use this, or how can this be manufactured. So that's sort of how the two tie together.